Sure.
Just curious about what your normally experienced participation rate would be.
Oh, well, I'll let Michael speak to this one, actually. He has a better, I guess. Absolutely.
Yeah, typically, I mean, it tends to vary on the vertical, but I'd say a good number to just throw out generally is between about 4 and 6% opt-in rate. So, I mean, it'll vary based on time of day and stuff like that as well. I mean, if we're hitting people during the 9 to 5 working hours, they tend to be involved in other tasks, so they'll decline. But 4 to 6 is a good window in terms of your participation rate. Sure. No, that's a very, very good question to ask, and I'm glad you did. So, the question was regarding where in the visit the visitor is intercepted, and he was asking whether or not visitors on the site, and he goes and hits on the buy button, and then they're intercepted with a survey. And I'm glad you actually raised that point, because it's a real key point of differentiation for us. We don't believe in ever interrupting a visitor midstream or in the course of an activity on the website. We believe it's bad both from a branding standpoint and from a conversion architecture standpoint. You don't want somebody clicking around for 25 minutes on your website, finally deciding to buy, only to be interrupted with a survey. So the way we do it is we set the cookies up so that a visitor is only interrupted on arrival to the domain. So it's essentially like we're posting somebody at the door to this room. You come in the morning, we're politely thanking you for attending. We're saying, listen, if you got 3 minutes after you're done at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, come stop by. We'd like to ask you a couple questions about your experience. We're not in the business of interrupting our visitors. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, sorry, could you just repeat the last part? Yeah, it is another screen in the interaction. That's why when we talk about sampling, again, 4Q is not a census level management tool. So you're not asking every single visitor on your website for feedback. You're asking a small but statistically valid random sample of your visitors.
So can we, on my site, when they fill the credit card information, they go buy and they buy, then they have another page that comes out and go back to the website, and at that point, we put in what the question right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid approach. The only reason we don't do it that way is because the typical conversion architecture of a website is such that somebody will typically buy a product, go to the checkout screen, go to the order confirmation page, open up another link, go to their website, click back in to the site. At that point, we're dealing with 2 different sessions. So the easiest thing for us to do from a sessionization standpoint is just to intercept at the first point of entry to a domain. What we do is we actually have what you saw, I don't know if you want to put it back on screen. It's a dynamic HTML layer that resides on top of the website. When a visitor accepts to participate in it, there's a second window that minimizes. They can retrieve that second window whenever they want. We encourage them to retrieve it post-visit, but they could always retrieve it after completing their primary intent when they know enough about the website and complete their survey and furnish the feedback that, was associated with their experience. Again, the key to emphasize in this position is in no case do we jump in midstream. We absolutely are all about inviting on arrival, inviting a small but representative sample on arrival, and then on exit, after the visitor's done with their experience with your website, posing them a few questions. Sorry? In terms of how you want it intercepted? Yeah, I mean, we can have this discussion offline if you want with me and SJ, but certainly if if you have needs to sample in a specific way, I mean, we operate based on best practices that have worked for us for about 8 to 10 years, but, we can have a conversation offline about it. Sorry, was there a question in front?
Who sets the sample rate?
You do, you have full control of your sample rate. Depending on traffic volume. So if you're a website that has, 10 to 20,000 unique visitors a month, you'll probably be wanting to sample a little bit more just so you can get the appropriate drill downs into all your visitor groups. If you're a larger site with, say, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 unique visitors a month, I take the opportunity to keep your sample relatively low. You don't need a huge amount of visitors to get statistical generalizability. So it would vary based on the site. I would say for a larger site, you're looking 10 to 20%. For a smaller site, you maybe want to be in the 30 to 40% range. Yeah.
The people who supply the analysis, especially self-select, are moving over there.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. That's a very, it's a question of methodology. We know for a fact, and I mean, as much as we would like it not to exist, it does happen that the proximity to the online experience and the, self-selected responses don't always line up 100% with their actual activities on the website. So there's actually two things we've done for this. One is internal research with partners who operate in the behavioral or clickstream analytics space, where we can tie the data sets together and validate whether or not a visitor actually did or consumed the pieces of content or behaved in the manner that he or she indicates that she did. And to your second point about the idea of generalizability, well, that's where it becomes really key that our sampling our sampling program is very strong. The reason we intercept on arrival is because to have a random sample, every single person in the population has to have the equal opportunity of getting selected. If we were to sample midstream or deep into the visit or on specific landing pages, you're setting up an environment where you're only asking a specific type of visitor and you're raising the possibility that bias will be introduced into the response set. So we negate that by asking up front, by asking a robust enough sample size, and by ensuring, that our statistical ducks are in a row. So when we're putting out data, the stuff that you've seen on screen has been, vetted in terms of the confidence intervals and in terms of the, the sampling error that's in there. We're really a market research company at our heart and soul, and the methodology behind all this is very sound. Over there? Yeah.
So would the enterprise version allow you to correlate the survey data with the actual analytics data?
Yeah, exactly, and thanks for raising that. Is that 4Q is really, it's a sort of plug-and-play type of solution, right? It's intended to help you get real quick, actionable survey results that can help you improve your website. We do have an enterprise product called the Web Validator, where that level of layering, so that, like a unique key that would bind your clickstream data set and your survey data set, we're capable of linking it up at the enterprise level exactly. Any other questions? Yeah.
Is all the information gathered that resides in your servers? Do you use that information or do you sell it to other companies for market analysis or what?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. I don't know if everybody heard the question was regarding what we do with the data. And I can say absolutely not to your question. Your data is your data. Even though it resides on our servers in a secure facility, your data cannot be, you can consult our privacy policy anytime at 4qsurvey.com. Your data will not be redistributed, resold, packaged, or released in any other way, shape, or form. The only thing that we do sometimes, just purely as an exercise in online market research or an exercise in data syndication, is we may aggregate survey results into massive super samples, like you saw today, the 50,000 retail and e-commerce sites, just to speak at events like this or at eMetrics events, in which case your data is being released, but it's being released as a part of a super aggregation where any kind of thing that would be distinct to you is lost.